Good evening, I'm Sarah Faris Club with the main news-making headlines around the world. The State of Kuwait calls for an urgent Arab League meeting to discuss the ongoing Israeli aggression on the Gaza Strip. Firefighting units have controlled a fire that broke out in 3 warehouses in Mina Abdullah's junkyard south of the country. Palestinian death toll rises as Israel continues its fresh raid attacks on the Gaza Strip. And U.S. Secretary of State holds fresh talks with 2 Afghan presidential candidates. Hello and good evening. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah paid a visit yesterday evening to the Kuwait Army Officers Club on the occasion of the holy month of Ramadan. His Highness the Emir was accompanied by His Highness the Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah, Deputy Chief of the National Guard Sheikh Mishal Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah, and His Highness Sheikh Jaber Al Mubarak Al Hamad Al Sabah, the Prime Minister. His Highness the Emir was received by the Deputy Premier and Minister of Defense Sheikh Khalid Al Jarrah Al Sabah, Chief of the Army's General Staff Lieutenant General Abdul Rahman Muhammad Al Uthman, Under Secretary of the Defense Ministry Jassar Abdul Razzaq Al Jassar, and senior Army commanders. His Highness the Emir delivered a speech where he highly appreciated the great role of armed forces in protecting the country and called for vigilance and readiness amid the ongoing critical political and security circumstances in the region in order to confront whoever sought to undermine security and stability of the state. On his part, Lieutenant General Al Uthman expressed gratitude to His Highness the Emir for his visit and said the armed forces were adopting a strategy aimed at confronting all challenges facing the country with the aim of honoring the aspirations of the Kuwaiti people. Sheikh Sabah. His Highness the Emir then visited Sheikh Nawaf Al Ahmad Al Jabir Al Sabah's building at the Interior Ministry, where he was received by the Deputy Premier, Minister of Interior, and Acting Minister of Awqaf and Islamic Affairs, Sheikh Mohammed Khalid Al Hamad Al Sabah, and Under Secretary of the Interior Ministry, Lieutenant General Suleiman Fahad Al Fahad. His Highness the Emir said these security forces have a great role to play in preserving order in the country and urged them to strictly implement the law against riots, violent acts, disruption of traffic, attacks against police officers and forces, and public and private properties, as well as crimes, including cybercrimes, drug trafficking, and violence among the youth. His Highness the Emir called on the Interior Ministry to exert more efforts in addressing the traffic congestions as well as traffic law violations that ultimately lead to many deaths, particularly among youth. Meanwhile, Lieutenant General Al Fahad said police forces were determined to defend the country, noting that security troops have been mounting defense mechanisms against all kinds of crimes and illegal acts. At the end of his visit, His Highness the Emir and His Highness the Crown Prince were presented with commemorative gifts on this occasion. Afterwards, His Highness the Emir visited the National Guard's Officers Club, where he was received by His Highness Chief of the National Guard, Sheikh Salim Al-Ali Al-Sabah, his Deputy, Sheikh Mish'al Ahmed Al-Jabir Al-Sabah, the National Guard's Acting Under Secretary, Major General Engineer Hashim Abdul Razzaq Al-Rifa'i, and senior commanders of the National Guard. His Highness the Emir asserted the important role of the National Guard as the first backup of the armed forces and the security bodies, adding that the National Guard is playing a significant role in protecting the nation as well as guarding the public and vital facilities. His Highness the Emir then expressed appreciation to the great role of His Highness Sheikh Salim Al-Ali Al-Sabah and Sheikh Mish'al Al-Ahmad Al-Jabir Al-Sabah for improving the military's capabilities and expertise of the National Guard. On the other hand, Major General Al-Rifa'i pledged that the National Guard would keep abiding by the wise guidance of His Highness the Emir to perform their duties hand in hand with the Ministries of Defense and Interior. During his visits, His Highness the Emir was also accompanied by the Minister of Amiri Diwan Affairs, Sheikh Nasser Sabah Al Ahmad Al Sabah, and his Deputy Sheikh Ali Jarrah Al Sabah, senior state officials, and a host of sheikhs. The Arab League has decided to hold an emergency ministerial meeting on Monday in response to a request by Kuwait to discuss the Gaza crisis. The permanent delegation of the State of Kuwait to the Arab League's ambassador, Abdulaziz Rahim al-Dayhani, said Kuwait submitted an official request to the League to hold the urgent meeting on Gaza in light of the consultations between the First Deputy Premier and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sheikh Sabah al-Khalid al-Hamad al-Sabah, and the Arab League's Secretary General, Dr. Nabil al-Arabi. The urgent Arab meeting will be held after failure of the United Nations Security Council to take a decision on halting the Israeli military offensive on Gaza. Kuwait Fire Services Directorate, or KFSD, has announced that firefighting units were dispatched to bring under control a fire that broke out in 3 warehouses in Mina Abdullah's junkyard, south of the country. Deputy Director General of Firefighting and Human Resources Development, Brigadier Khalid al-Mikrad, said that the operation room received a call reporting fire breaking out in 3 warehouses that contained tires, vehicles, parts, and toys. He added that the fire was spread out onto 3,000 square meters of land due to gusty winds and flammable materials. Investigations are being carried out to determine the cause of the fire. His Highness Sheikh Nasser Al-Muhammad Al-Ahmed Al-Sabah attended a Ramadan Ghabka, or banquet, hosted by the First Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sheikh Sabah Al-Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, in honor of the heads of diplomatic missions accredited in the State of Kuwait. The banquet was held at Jumeirah Masila Beach Hotel, and our correspondent Ghanwa Jabouri was there with this report.
Ramadan is a sacred and special time of the year, and it is a time when increased gatherings take place. Annual Ghabkas strengthen ties among individuals and reflects the true nature of the holy month. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs held its annual Ghabka, hosted by First Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Sheikh Sabah Khalid al-Hamad al-Sabah. The banquet witnessed a huge attendance from members of the royal family, diplomats, politicians, media celebrities, and distinguished guests.
It's a holy month, it's a blessed month, it's an honor, and it's really that for Muslims especially. But celebrating in Kuwait actually, where there's so much warmth. As you said, so many get-together, so many ghabkas, which brings us together, but also shows us is the strength of the Muslims, the sort of the blessings of Ramadan, that it bonds us together, it helps us to know each other better, but also to share our common values and thoughts, So it's a pleasure to be here tonight, which is hosted by Excellency, the Foreign Minister of the State of Kuwait. And we look forward to spend some time together, and as I said, continue enjoying the people and the hospitality and the generosity of this wonderful country, really.
During the banquet, Sheikh Sabah al-Khalid stressed the necessity of addressing the Arab and Islamic issues, voicing hope that Security Council would issue a resolution on ceasing fire in Gaza. Sheikh Sabah al-Khalid also affirmed the significance of implementing the truce agreement reached in 2012 and returning to the negotiation table to stop the suffering of the Palestinian people, noting that the Arab League Secretary General, the Islamic Cooperation Organization, and the UN are working together in this regard.
First of all, to our Kuwait people, Ramadan Mubarak, Ramadan Kareem. I think Ramadan is quite interesting experiences for me. This is my first Ramadan, and then in the Ramadan time, you're gonna host lots of the diwaniyas in each and every family. So it's quite interesting for me to visit each and every diwaniyas in the evening. So I could meet as many as possible local families, people, and then to know, understand the Arabic and Kuwaiti cultures. So it's quite experiences to me.
Distinguished guests noted that they felt honoured and privileged during the banquet, as they were delighted to congratulate and share the Kuwaiti joy and take part in a cultural and social event that is highly respected and appreciated in Kuwait.
The spokesman for Israel's prime minister said that a potential ground invasion of the Gaza Strip is on the table as Israel and Hamas continue to exchange rocket fire. Israeli airstrikes were targeting areas of Gaza from where rockets have been fired, while Israeli army tanks were seen on the outskirts of Jerusalem heading towards the south of the country. Our reporter Dina Nasser has more on this story.
Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas called for a ceasefire in the conflict between Israel and Hamas in the Gaza Strip, saying a political solution must be reached. Speaking yesterday, he reiterated the Palestinian demand that their future state be based on the borders that existed before the 1967 Middle East War. He warned that without an agreement based on the 1967 borders, Israel would keep receiving missiles. Abbas added that the war was in Israel's favor. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed to press forward with a broad military offensive in the Gaza Strip, insisting international pressure will not stop what he said was a determined effort to halt rocket fire by the Palestinians. Today, plumes of smoke could be seen rising over Gaza City throughout the day as Israel responded with airstrikes. The Iron Dome, a US-funded Israel-developed rocket defense system, has intercepted more than 130 incoming rockets, preventing any Israeli fatalities so far. Over 120 Palestinians have been killed. The Palestinian Health Ministry says, in addition to those killed, 790 people have been injured in Israel's Operation Protective Edge since it began on Tuesday. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs has calculated that nearly 80% of the people killed in Gaza so far have been civilians. The outbreak of violence follows the kidnappings and killings of 3 Israeli teenagers in the West Bank and the kidnapping and killing of a Palestinian teenager in a revenge attack.
In another related development, Israeli warplanes continued their bombings of Gaza as rockets continue to hit Israeli cities. Fears are growing high, and the US has offered to help negotiate a truce between Hamas and Israel. More with Majd Al-Wahidi from Gaza.
Gaza's open-air prison is under Israeli airstrikes and threats of a grand invasion. Until this day, Israel's Operation Protective Edge has claimed the lives of more than 100, injuring hundreds more. At least 20 of those who lost their lives are women and children. People died in numbers, and those who escaped the bombs are now homeless. We didn't do anything. We are not militants. Why Israel bombed our house? We were a safe family, but Israel killed my children and destroyed our land. I don't know where to go. May God punish Israel. This tragedy is part of Israel's military offensive against Al-Qassam brigades and other Gaza militants. For a 5th day, the sky experienced nothing but rockets fired into Israel or deadly Israeli airstrikes. Militants said they fired at least 300 rockets into Israel. Slight damages were reported, yet no Israeli has been killed so far. Israeli army said the battle with Hamas is open until they stop firing rockets, but civilians are trapped in the middle, facing collective punishment and crimes against humanity.
Actually, the Israeli occupation is going insane. It's striking everything. Hundreds of houses, they're killing civilians. Most of them are from children and women, and at the same time they try to weaken the internal front of the Palestinians. But at the same time we try to do our work, not make Palestinians not to listen what the Israeli do in psychological war. And we say that our Palestinian people are standing. They have patience.
Amid diplomatic efforts to calm tensions, Kuwait requested an urgent Arab foreign ministers meeting. Also, US said it's ready to try to bring about a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. However, Israel continues its aggression against Palestinians in Gaza while violating international law, as the international community watched the atrocities unfold with silence and indignation. Streets are empty and shops are closed as Gaza residents are trying to feel safe in their homes. However, Israel's airstrikes are affecting every single soul in Gaza with the flashbacks of traumatic memories. Majd Al-Wahidi, Kuwait TV, Gaza.
Nikolai Mladenov, the UN Special Envoy to Iraq, said today the country could plunge into chaos if its divided parliament fails to move forward on forming a government in its next session set for Sunday. In Iraq, Kurds have taken over 2 oil fields amid a growing dispute with the government in Baghdad. Kurdish Peshmerga forces are said to have seized control of production facilities at the Bay Hassan and Kirkuk oil fields in the north of the country. Kurdish MPs have also withdrawn from Iraq's central government after Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki accused the Kurds of harboring extremists. Meanwhile, the number of people killed in a car bombing on the outskirts of Kirkuk has risen to 30. The attack took place on Friday when a suicide bomber's vehicle struck a petrol tanker at a checkpoint to the south of the city. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is holding a second day of talks in Afghanistan to try to end a row over the result of the presidential poll. Kerry is meeting candidates Ashraf Ghani and Abdullah, who accuse each other of electoral fraud at the U.S. compound in the capital, Kabul. Meanwhile, 10 people have been killed in bomb attacks blamed on the Taliban. 8 civilians, including several women, died when a roadside bomb blew up in southern Kandahar province. A bomb in the eastern city of Jalalabad in Nangarhar province claimed 2 more lives. A strong earthquake hit Japan's northern coast near the nuclear power plant crippled in 2011 earthquake and tsunami. The earthquake triggered a small tsunami and prompted towns across the northern coast to issue evacuation advisories. Japan's meteorological agency said the 6.8 magnitude quake struck 10 kilometers below the sea surface off the coast of Fukushima, about 250 kilometers northeast of the capital, Tokyo. Fukushima Daiichi and 2 other nuclear power plants, along with other nuclear facilities on the coast, found no abnormalities, and their reactors and fuel storage pools are being cooled safely. The 2011 disaster killed about 19,000 people. That disaster also triggered multiple meltdowns at the Fukushima plant. More than 100,000 people are still unable to return home due to fear of radiation contamination from the plant itself. Despite the scorching heat and the challenges of Ramadan fasting, Kuwait Central Blood Bank was packed this weekend as hundreds of people turned up to donate their blood. Organized by the Pakistani blood donors in Kuwait, the 5th blood donation camp kept the blood bank open far past midnight as new and returning donors patiently waited for their turn to contribute. Our reporter Badriya Saleh brings us this story.
The Pakistani blood donors in Kuwait, PBDK, held their 5th blood donation camp this weekend, their second ever held during the holy fasting month of Ramadan. Despite the snail-paced traffic outside, Kuwait Central Blood Bank was overflowing with enthusiastic donors ready to aid in this noble cause.
It's such a good feeling to do it, that it may save up to 3 lives, so it's like a proud feeling to do it. It's like a win-win situation. It helps you also. Your body generates more blood, more fresh blood, and meanwhile you can save more lives. People need blood, and that's why we are here.
Last Ramadan we did a camp as well, and last Ramadan we had 120 donors, and we are expecting, you can see the crowd today, and we're expecting at least 175 donors today. I think the time, we don't have enough time, otherwise we would have exceeded the number 200 as well. And we get excellent response from the public every time we do this camp, and it's been excellent so far.
PBDK is a non-profit organization founded in 2011 with a mission to create awareness about the grave importance of blood donation. This time of year specifically, the organization seeks to educate the public on the generosity of donating during Ramadan and how to do so in a healthy manner.
It's totally normal, just eat well before coming here, have your normal iftar, eat and have as much fluids as possible. And then once people come here, we get a complete checkup. So if there's any problem, any medical issue, or they have, any sort of, even if they have high blood pressure, so they refuse to take their blood, totally. And they have to either come back some other day or, they come back for our next camp.
There were some doubts also. Sometimes we talk with them and we get together, have some small meetings to give them information about these things. So we'll tell them that there's no problem health-wise if you donate blood or things like that. So they're quite educated now and they're calling their friends. So we're increasing the number every year. Every 6 months we are doing, and every time we're having more than before.
With the motto, blood owner should be a blood donor, PBDK hopes to help promote a culture in which blood donation is considered a social responsibility instead of an act of doing a favor.
The organization's goal is to receive 300 plus donations within a single camp. With growing popularity and very committed returning donors, that seems quite achievable in the near future. At the Central Blood Bank in Jabriya, I'm Badriya Saleh, reporting for the English News.
Brazilian authorities say they are planning Rio de Janeiro's largest ever security operation for the World Cup final on Sunday between Germany and Argentina, with more than 25,000 security personnel being deployed. Heads of state, including German leader Angela Merkel and Russian President Vladimir Putin, will attend the match. About 75,000 fans are expected to watch the final at Rio's Maracana Stadium. Brazil and the Netherlands will face off in the playoff for the third place tonight, with both eager to restore their pride after the heartbreak of their semi-final defeats. Brazil, the record 5-time champions, slipped to an unprecedented 7-1 loss at the hands of Germany. Disappointment also reigns for the Netherlands squad, with Louis van Gaal's side having made such a stunning start to their campaign by dispatching Spain 5-1. However, the Dutch ran out of steam towards the end, failing to find the net against Costa Rica or Argentina. For a chance to see our reports and news bulletin again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. That's all the news for now, but you can join us again for the news brief at 11 p.m. Before we end, here's a quick reminder of the day's main headlines. The State of Kuwait calls for an urgent Arab League meeting to discuss the ongoing Israeli aggression on the Gaza Strip. Firefighting units have controlled a fire that broke out in 3 warehouses in Mina Abdullah's junkyard south of the country. Palestinian death toll rises as Israel continues its fresh raid attacks on the Gaza Strip. And the U.S. Secretary of State holds fresh talks with 2 Afghan presidential candidates.